Everything in this world is made out of matter, whether it is living or not living. Then what's the difference between the living and the non-living? Many chemicals, the scientists would categorize them as amino acids, came together and formed the first cell. The first cell, just the same as whatever else was existing at that time, several billion years ago, was made out of matter, chemicals. But there was one big difference between that first cell and the rest of matter. What was it? The ability to replicate itself. So the first cell could divide and become two cells, both of which can then grow, again divide, and eventually each cell would die. So this new process, going from just matter, which had to come together from external forces, energy basically. So this ability to reproduce, or the ability to self-replicate, is the first step in defining life. That life force, something that went into that cell. It's just a chemical, but something that went into that cell that gave it the ability to replicate. Let us define that. That something, that force that went in, as the soul. There is nothing new in that cell other than the chemicals that the scientists can define. Therefore, that new thing that went in is unobserved. It's not physically defined. That led to our inability to define based on science what that might be. It seems it is not within the laws of physics. The inability to define it and understand it from a spiritual level may be a weakness of this level of human evolution. So maybe we will evolve and that inability will go away, and we will be able to understand what that soul is. In the meanwhile, we are in a spiritual realm, and we can only understand its characteristics or define its characteristics or assume its characteristics or assign some characteristics to it. And that's what is being given to us in the next few verses of the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2. So verse 22 says, the soul uses the body like the body uses a shirt. Just like when the shirt wears out, we throw it and wear another shirt. The soul, when the body wears out, just leaves it and takes another one. That's verse 22. Verse 23, 24, and 25 furthermore define the characteristics of a soul. So the next verse, 23, is soul cannot be destroyed by weapons. You cannot burn it. You can't wet it. You cannot dry it. So the idea is, don't think of it as something that you know from this world. And the soul is imperceptible. Human mind cannot understand it. So let go of the sorrows. Here, Bhagavad Gita is telling you not to dwell too much in trying to understand what that soul might be, like many scientists try to do. They try to bring soul into within the laws of physics or laws of nature, and they keep failing, because it's very clearly said, by definition, it's indestructible, it is unobservable by humans. Just forget about it. Don't think about doing that. And then it says life force cannot be cut, cannot be burnt, doused or dried, repeating the previous verse. It's permanent, complete, unchanging, stationary, and most importantly, it existed before time. Stephen Hawking's last episode had a statement. If you had read that statement completely, you would notice that he mentions time began at the same moment as the universe began with that Big Bang. Time did not exist before the Big Bang. So in this verse, very clearly, Bhagavad Gita states that the soul existed before time, before the creation, which means it's part of the Creator. And that's why we have that understanding that soul is the same as the Creator. More next time.